Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're joining us today. And we are so grateful and lucky to have Carolyn Sykes on with us today. She is a beautiful energy worker and is coming to us today to talk about how everything affects us that's around us, how our thoughts, our words, how we feel. It's all part of how our day goes. So thank you for being with us, Carolyn.
Thanks for having me.
So would you like to talk a little bit about your thoughts on how, people don't realize, like, even their thoughts, how that affects even how your day goes. If you, are thinking that things aren't going to go good, they aren't going to go good.
Yep. So I liked what you said there in the introduction about how energy, everything in our environment affects us. Okay. And how also we affect everything in our environment, as you just said. And so the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was about our environment and how, like, even just like objects in our room can impact on our energy. So I work a lot with the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, the map of consciousness that goes from 0 to 1,000. And on this map of frequencies, which range from 0 to 1,000 in power, 500 is love, 200 is integrity, and anything below 200 is a downward spiral. It's a negative energy field. So we could have objects in our environment which vibrate below 200 on the scale. For example, swear words, right? So you could have some art on your wall that's got swear words in it. And without even knowing it, that is in your aura and it's disempowering you on a regular basis. And so, for example, like I have this mandala behind me because it's a very powerful energy. It vibrates quite high. So it's good to have there behind me. I like it as a background on the video anyway, but it's good to have in my environment on a regular basis. A lot of electronical equipment. So if we spend our whole day on computers and then iPhones, it's important to unplug from all that completely and go into something like nature. Go for a walk without your iPhone and just completely be present and let nature just absorb anything that you don't need and give you something back that you do need. And by the same token, I advocate walking barefoot so that we can really plug into the earth. Because as a species, we tend to walk on concrete, wear shoes, live in high-rise buildings, and all of that keeps us disconnected from the energy of the earth, which is very grounding.
And I agree. Even just if you only have 5 minutes, just go sit outside and just take a nature bath, I call it. Just listen to the birds, look up at the trees in the sky. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
And if you just watch the clouds, it's just amazing.
What does it look like around you at the moment? Because we've got like a slight change of seasons happening here.
It's been a little cooler at night, but during the day it's a little warmer, not as hot as usual. And it's just.
What about the foliage?
It's still very green.
Oh, okay, because ours is starting to go golden now, and we've had a lot of leaves falling, and it's so strange because last week we were on a call, weren't we? And it was a heat wave here. And I was wearing a dress and it looked like I was naked on the video because I just like had this dress that only came up to here. It's a complete heat wave. And now this week we've had thunderstorms, rain, leaves falling. Everything looks autumnal. But I actually prefer it. I like the autumn.
It's just hard to switch. I think it's hard for us to switch our mindset to accepting what's going on around us. To you, like you said, you visually see the leaves dropping, and then what does that do to our mindset? Oh, we think, winter's coming, and then the doldrums of winter.
I love winter. I love winter. I love like wearing snuggly jumpers and drinking hot drinks, and I do. That's why I like autumn, I think, because it's the signal of things cooling down. I find the summer very intense on an emotional level as well. And I'd always found this, but then it's actually we talked about it in one of my acupuncture sessions with my own acupuncturist about how this is actually a Chinese medicine thing. The way that the seasons change is to do with the way that the 5 elements interact. And so the summer's intense heat has a massive impact on all of our organs. And each organ houses a different emotion. And so all the organs are getting impacted by the heat. And then they're throwing up all these emotional, like, turmoil, if you like. So I do find, for me personally, the summer is a very intense time. And then when it starts to cool down, everything just feels like it gets calmer and more stable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that might just be
makes
me.
sense. So when you mentioned the Chinese medicine and the shifting, is there something that is in Chinese medicine to help people shift, between the seasons?
So it's all about seeking balance and finding the middle way. So when we get into like the height of summer, we're in the peak of yang. So it's all about seeking to be more yin, to bring that balance back. So during those hot times, there's things we can do to kind of calm our mind, be more still, slow down, keep ourselves cool. And then in the winter, we have the peak of yin, where we have to keep ourselves warm. And so it's all about understanding the fundamental principles of yin and yang, so we can bring those principles into harmony in our lives. And then at the times of the equinox, you've got perfect balance, and the perfect balance is just provided by nature. But like, just because we're in a certain season externally doesn't mean that's the season we're in internally, because I believe we all go through our own internal seasons. So even though it's summer now, somebody watching this might be going through their personal winter, or vice versa. And so I think the best thing people can do when they find themselves going through anything is to just seek to be in harmony with nature. So try and eat as seasonal as possible with your foods, dress appropriately for the season, do activities that are appropriate for the season, because a lot of people find themselves stuck in offices or working from home and they can't get out. So make a point of being outdoors as much as you can and embracing whatever season you're in.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because it's all, I think the answers are always outside and in our hearts as well. So just making that connection and allowing ourselves to embrace the season we're in, because we need to recognize that we need to shift. And maybe that's part of the entire process, is recognizing it in order to shift.
Yeah, definitely. Just like awareness is the first step to anything, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Awareness is so powerful. And we talked a lot about this on our call last week. Being in the present moment, awareness is ultimately the healer of everything, because the mind creates a lot of problems for us. So somebody might be going through some chaos in their lives right now and thinking it's because they've got bad energy, or they've attracted some bad energy, or they've got bad energy around them, when actually it might just be that they're listening too much to their mind. And actually, if we bypass the mind and just go directly into present moment awareness, no matter what's going on in our lives, we can always find peace in the moment. There's always more peace present than anything else. And so our mind gets to choose what it focuses on. And we can make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell through our mind. And so having a practice of awareness helps us to let go of the mind and use the mind as a tool it was designed for, rather than the mind using us.
Yeah, that's so good, because we allow our mind to run everything. And
that's not its job, really. It's there to help us, not to hinder us.
Yeah. And it can talk us out of so many good ideas and so many good thoughts just instantly. And it's just about capturing that all on. And I think that's important when you do have a good thought, to capture that on paper, because if it was meant to come through, then it's important.
I remember my coach saying that over the years of when she's been coaching, because this is why I love doing things like what we're doing now. Okay. It's a conversation. So we never know when we start recording what's going to come out, because it's flow between us. And so we don't have to prepare anything, or, I just have to wait and see what comes out. So she was saying that in her coaching sessions over the years, because of that flow, some of the things that have come out are things she didn't even expect herself to say, but she's captured them all in a book. And she's got this book that she calls the Book of Wisdom. And she's written down at the end of every coaching session, she sits down and remembers everything she said that was poignant, and also takes that advice on board for herself as well. Not just thinking like, oh, something wonderful just came through, it was for you. Actually thinking, if it came through me, it must have been for me as well.
It's really interesting.
So that's a good idea for everyone to do, I think.
I think so.
Even just in conversation, even if you're just helping your friend or family member go through something, when you're truly present, the right thing will come out. You don't need to worry about what to say. You just listen and respond. And then whatever you say, write it down. Or even, you might be thinking as you're driving along, and then a good thought comes through, as you say, and just capture it. Because our mind will so easily forget the good stuff and remember all of the limiting stuff. But I don't even think it's the mind that's doing it. We've been fed it. So we've picked it all up off other people as we were growing up. So it doesn't even belong to our own mind. It's just the programming that we picked up. Yes. So a lot of the thoughts we think are not only are they not true, but they're not even ours. So we might go through our whole lives thinking, oh, I've got money blocks, and I've got, I'm not good at business. But actually, the question is that even true? Is that even my belief? You might have heard when you were growing up that this family, money doesn't grow on trees, and people like us don't have things like that. And, we can always trace it back. It actually came from somewhere else. That did not originate in our own mind.
Yes. Because I think when we're 7 years old, that we already have
completely conditioned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yep.
But that's true. I'll hear my husband say something. Even last night, he was talking to my son, and who's a long distance runner. And my husband said, well, Bjorks are sprinters. Our last name is Bjork. And I thought,
oh yeah,
everybody is built different. Not everybody is a sprinter. So that's just, it just comes, I think, automatically out because you're heard or you hear this your whole life, and then you repeat it.
Exactly. Yep. And then one of your sons might not be built like a sprinter, and then think that, but I should be a sprinter because I'm a Bjork. And feel like there's something wrong then, that there isn't. But I think a lot of the what we would term as negative thinking is just limited, isn't it? It's limited awareness. Because if we were aware of our full true selves, then we would know. Wouldn't even have to affirm or try and change our beliefs. We would just know. Because there's certain things I know about myself now. If I hear someone trying to put me down, I just know that's not true. So it doesn't even trigger anything, because I just know who I am.
Right.
And I wish that for everyone.
Yes.
To know their true self.
And just to be able to take your voice back, to just stand up for yourself, because we are our own best friend. And we can't look outside ourselves for things to make us happy. We need to be that for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So it's only the extent to which we can be that for ourselves that we can actually genuinely be that for others.
Mhm.
I do
Right.
these affirmations with my little boy every day. He's only 2. And he gets up in the morning and the first thing he wants to do is watch Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh.
So I always say, well, after we've done our affirmations. So we have to watch 6 minutes of affirmations and repeat them out loud before he's allowed to watch Thomas the Tank Engine. And in the beginning, he got really upset about this, but he knows now. He knows what's coming. So he stands there and he does his, I am important. My voice matters. I am awesome.
That's so neat.
It's so sweet. I am truly perfect. But he doesn't say it quite as succinct as that. But he's like, I awesome.
Hmm. But he's framing that. So
I know. Some of his first words.
yes.
Like one of his first words, because I always play these mantras in the car. So I put him in the car, strapped him in, turned the mantras on, and he started singing it before it came on. Om Lakshmi.
Oh, wow. That'd be so good to go back and redo some things. But
Yeah.
just go forward.
Everything was perfect. Everything led to this moment now. So
Right.
nothing was ever as it shouldn't have been. Does that make sense? Or should I say everything was as it should have been?
Yes.
Because I said to my spiritual teacher, and I know I've said this to you before, but for the benefit of everyone watching, I said to my spiritual teacher a few weeks ago that I didn't want my son to develop an ego. And she said, why? And I said, well, because I don't want him to suffer. And she said, well, he has to develop an ego, but it wants to be a strong, healthy ego to function in this world. Because without an ego, he's going to suffer. And then she said that he would have the opportunity to develop an ego, a sense of separate personality self. And then at a point in his life, when he's ready, if he chooses to, he can go on a spiritual path and learn to undo the ego programming. But he has to develop it. So the soul comes into this world as the complete and pure form of everything that we say we want. So we say we want to be successful and rich and happy and in love and healthy and all these things. The soul is already that. So your true self that's looking out from behind your eyes now is already all the things you seek. And yet we've got this separate personality self. But we have to develop the personality first to then go back to the soul and complete the full human journey. So some people never have that spiritual awareness and they just go through life believing that they are the personality all their lives, and they will feel incomplete because their journey isn't really fully completed yet. They're still in the childhood phase of the full human potential. But once we start to awaken spiritually, and this goes through stages. So one of my earlier mentors, Jason Chan, an enlightened Tai Chi master, talked about the 7 stages of spiritual awakening. And in the first stage, you got this, what he calls the dynamic search. So you start to become very interested in manifestation and positive thinking and crystals and energy and Reiki, like we do. We're both Reiki masters. And we get to start to become interested in all of these things. And then with that stage can last for decades, where you just learn everything you can. Everything's interesting, everything's fascinating. And then you go into the next stage where you've chosen a path or a few practices or modalities that you work with. Perhaps you become therapists, or you become meditation teacher, or you just use a particular meditation practice for yourself, but you still have a normal job. That's like the next stage, and it goes through these 7 stages. And so I'm guessing people are watching this video will all be at various stages of that journey. But I would say most, if not all, had already reached stage 1, where this type of topic is piquing your interest. Isn't it?
I think so, because it's so much ancient history. Even when I talk about essential oils, I mean, those have been around for thousands of years.
Yep.
And maybe that's how, humanity has lived on. That's one of the things that they use to keep themselves well.
Definitely. Because Chinese medicine's over 5,000 years old. And from my perspective, it is the medicine. If you've got a life-threatening acute situation, I'm definitely going to call 111. Or what do you have? 911?
Yeah.
911. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 111 for like an emergency and 999 for like life or death.
Mm.
So you're definitely going to call one of those numbers if it's an emergency. If you've got a very acute situation, like a heart attack or a, God forbid, an accident of any kind. But when it comes to anything else, I truly believe that either Chinese medicine or some form of complementary medicine is better for long-term longevity.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, so if you've got like a chronic ailment, a chronic health condition, I do believe that complementary therapies are better. But if it's an acute life-threatening situation, you definitely want Western medicine in that moment. I think it's a bridge that can get you from where you are to where you want to be. And then the more complementary way of seeing the body and interacting with nature and harmony is the better way to go for long-term health.
Yeah, I agree.
And then hopefully you wouldn't need the Western medicine as much because, you could. So like I actually did a post. It's a really good post. I shared it twice actually this week. I was reading one of my acupuncture books and I photographed one of the paragraphs from the book and put it up on my post and said, this is the way we're doing it now. And it basically says in that paragraph that you can treat a person in the moment. You can work with whatever energy they've got available in that moment to get them pain-free or to get them more energized or feeling a bit better. But if you actually want to create long-term good health, preventative medicine, it's a different story. You need to use the whole universe wisely. And that to me means it's not just one thing. It has to be the mindset. It has to be the emotional work. It has to be the diet, the exercise. It's all of it. It's this completely holistic approach, the whole universe, and also knowing about energy and understanding about manifestation and how your thoughts create your reality and how you can connect to the whole universe, because the universe really does love you. And so people might see things happening in their lives and think, why is this happening to me? I'm such a good person. I don't deserve this. But in terms of the universe, there's no judgment. Things just are what they are. They're neither good nor bad. And in the grand scheme of things, they're all happening for our good. Because I can guarantee if you look back over your life, it's actually the hardest things at the time that were the biggest growth or the biggest catalysts for change, or the things that make you more grateful now because you went through those things. So at the time, it's not easy to think, oh, God loves me whilst this, whatever it is happening in your life. But actually, it is love. It's growth.
Yeah, because I don't think he gives us anything we can't handle. There's been a lot of history behind that. We're only given what we can handle.
That's right.
And it helps us grow. It helps us be a better person and definitely be more empathetic, resilient, and kind. And I think we just need more kindness and generosity in our world.
Yep.
Just a little too much of the opposite happening.
Yeah. It's, as my spiritual teacher calls it, it's devolution, not evolution. And so all that we can really do on a personal level is be sure to be evolving. Because as we evolve as individuals, we raise the collective sea level for all of humanity. And there is, as you say, more devolution than evolution happening right now. So it makes it even more our responsibility to evolve in our own personal lives and ways.
Yes, I think we just need to keep lifting each other up and be there for one another and just keep watching our thoughts and just be cognizant of what we say. And like with your little boy, I mean, kids pick up everything.
Everything. Yep. Yeah, because he was saying the other day, he kept saying, silly boy, silly boy. And I was like, where have you got that from? Who's called you a silly boy? You know, he's either picked it up off the TV or someone said it to him at school. But then it's like, you're not a silly boy, you're a genius.
Yes. But there's a whole paradigm around being a boy of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you should wear, what you shouldn't wear.
Yep. I mean, I definitely believe that he should know that he is a boy because he was born a boy. And I don't believe that at 6 years old he can decide to be otherwise. But if as an adult he decides he wants to be otherwise, that's a different matter. But I do think that kids these days shouldn't be, because if we didn't tell them they could decide what they want to be, would they even be thinking along those lines on their own? We're feeding them that. So it's just as damaging as trying to stereotype them into being a boy. But I think he should know that he is a boy.
Right. And it's funny, one of my other mentors is, he was a Marine for, I think, 10 or 15 years in the US military. And he likes the color pink. And we were talking about it.
He?
Right. And his son went to school, he's 4, and his teacher said, boys don't wear pink. And I said, I love pink. And I know that royalty in the olden days, way back when, they wore pink because that was a royal color.
Wow. I've always loved pink. He looks fantastic in this fluorescent pink t-shirt. And he's got this lovely blonde curly hair. And he's got really long eyelashes that he inherited from his father, and these gorgeous sparkly blue eyes. And when I take him out in his pink t-shirt, old ladies stop me in the street and say, oh, isn't she beautiful? And I say, yes, thank you, he is. But like, you know, he can wear whatever he wants.
Yes. But I think that's just all part of knowing who you are, and that you don't have to be put into a box. You know, you're here for a purpose, and just remember to keep your mind open and accepting.
Yep. Definitely. And as you're saying, you know, before we started recording, you were saying one of the things you wanted to convey on this talk is the power of thought. So what thoughts do you have on that you want to convey?
I think just keeping cognizant of what you're thinking, because if you are constantly thinking, like when you walk by a mirror, what do you say to yourself? That's my big thing. Do you look at the mirror and say, oh, your hair looks terrible today? Or, you know, that shirt looks so crummy. Why would you wear that? If we talk to ourselves like that, our brain just keeps that on replay for us. We need to talk nice to ourselves. You know, give a compliment.
Yep. And, you know, going that one step further is to just, I think judgment is one of the most damaging things. So the mind is constantly judging. It's inherent in what it does because it is there to keep us safe. Ultimately, so it has to judge if something's safe or not. But it goes too far and we let it rule us, and it's judging everything constantly. So it'll be judging ourselves, it'll be judging others, judging everything as good, bad, right, wrong, positive, negative, better, worse, when actually questioning our thoughts, I think, is a powerful practice. Is that really true? Is that good or bad? You know, in the grand scheme of things, it's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. Part of a process. In A Course in Miracles, it says, all things work together for good. And then the next sentence, it says, there are no exceptions. And And it's not really until we come to the end of our lives, when we look back over the whole thing, the whole journey, when it's complete, can we actually say whether something was good or bad? Because we don't know yet. The journey hasn't finished. So we don't know where what we're going through now is leading us. You know, a few years back, you and I met in a mastermind. We didn't know back then where that was leading us. And even that particular reason that we were in the mastermind, I would say still hasn't even completed itself yet. You know, and like people say to me sometimes when I'm in the midst of courses or investments, did it work? I'm like, well, I don't know yet. But is it working? You know, have you got like a return on investment yet? I'm like, well, A, it's none of your business, and B, I don't know yet. I can't say if it's worked or not yet, because it's still working. I look back at things I did 10 years ago and I could see that they're still working. They still are unfolding. It's like a seed was planted. It's still blooming.
And I think the connections, because we're all connected, but when we realize the connections, when we are put in each other's paths, is what we need to look at.
Yeah.
Instead of what the investment or the return on investment are. Because I know from that group, I'm still connected to a lot of people. And I mean, one of the people that was employed by the group, I mean, he's putting me on podcasts now.
Oh, wow.
Or giving me, referrals for podcasts.
Yeah, amazing. And one of the people who was employed by the whole thing is not even working there anymore. And she started up a business with one of the participants. Mm-hmm. So, you just don't know. You just don't know how things are going to unfold. And the whole thing about the investment and the return on investment, I see so much out there now on the internet in the coaching world about this much per month and get more clients and this many clients and this number. And then I hit 1 million and I celebrate with me. I just had a 6-figure month. And it's like, is anything about your work actually helping people? Or is it just about the numbers? Because it's seeming to sound like this all people care about is hitting certain goals and numbers. Whereas in my business, my work is about serving my clients, making sure that a client who's invested in themselves to work with me gets the result they paid for. Mm-hmm. That's my number one goal in my business.
Yes.
I feel like doing a post about it, but I don't want to come down to the arguing level. So this is part of how we keep our vibration elevated, is not getting into these debates and just seeing things and thinking, okay, I wouldn't do it that way. Let's just keep our eyes on the real prize, which is the purpose that we were born for, the people we were born to serve. And if anyone's watching this and they're not fully stepping into their purpose, I would say there are people out there waiting for you to say yes to your calling, your purpose, and they need you and they're waiting. So don't let your limiting beliefs stop you, because it's not about you, it's about them.
Right. Yes. And I think as running a heart-centered business myself, it's not about clicks or numbers, or it's about helping people enjoy the rest of their life and having this set of tools to grab when you have a challenge, to know that you have something in your back pocket when things come up. So it doesn't take as long to navigate through it. And I know now that I was given MS so long ago so that I can help others get through it and know that there's answers besides, just what you're told at the physician's office. They don't talk about how you feel. I mean, like really feel.
No. I mean, I had a patient this morning. Basically, I started treating an elderly lady a few weeks ago, and I went to her house and her husband needed treatment as well. So last week, I spent an hour with her husband after I'd done her appointment. And then this week I treated him for the first time. And when I sat down and had a coffee and spent an hour talking to her husband, he was just like, wow, like no one has ever listened to me. No one has ever taken the time. No one's ever asked me these questions about how I feel and how things impact me, and, how living with all these ailments is affecting me. And he was just like, you're in the doctor's office for 10 minutes max. Sometimes they just Google things in front of you because they don't even know. And it's like, give you a stack of pills and out the door you go. So I think it's just so important that people feel listened to and heard. That in itself is healing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if there's somebody watching this that thinks, I'm not a healer, I'm not a coach, what is my purpose? Just listen to the people who are actually in your life. Listen to your husband. Listen to your wife. Listen to your parents. That's the hardest one. But make sure the people in your immediate life to actually feel listened to.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We should listen twice as much as we talk. Just let the person.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yes. And 2 ears.
For a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have shared a lot.
I know. I can't believe it's been 40 minutes already.
I know. I thought, I didn't know it was going to happen. So I think this has been a wonderful session of sharing and just letting people know, you are here for a purpose. You do have something to share with the world. And maybe you don't know what it is right now, but maybe take a few minutes a day and just go outside and try to clear your mind and listen for the answer to come in. Because like you said, when we put our phone away, turn off the music, turn off the TV, and just take a few minutes and just be with ourselves, because we are our own best friend, that a lot will come through. And doing this work, it's part of it.
I want to say as well on that note that what happened for me personally was my purpose unfolded as a result of doing Reiki. So people who are watching this video might already be interested or starting to become interested in energies, as we said, how your thoughts affect your world, etc. And for me personally, Reiki was the introduction to that. It's such a quick, easy thing to learn, but it can be absolutely life transforming. And it's another one of those things that, okay, the workshop lasts a day, but it works on you for the rest of your life. And so perhaps if people are watching this and they want to know more about energies and go to the next level in their own lives, Reiki would be a really good way of opening that door for them. And so that's something they can talk to us about if they're interested in learning Reiki for themselves, because I do most of my teaching online these days, as I know you now do as well, Wendy. So we can reach people from all over the world with all of this goodness.
Yes. And my first exposure, I was in high school, and my mom took me to a Reiki healer because I already had MS by then. And she was just looking for different avenues for healing. And I think, just like you said, having that energetic shift, and that's another tool for our toolbox, is to have the Reiki.
I just think it opens so many doors, and I think it's very high potency as well. Okay, so when we think about the physical body, most people's focus is there. Everything we do is physical. It's all about what I eat, what I drink, how much I exercise. I'll go for a massage to get rid of my pain, etc. But then the next level is the mind and emotions. And then even higher and even more powerful is the soul. And so there's this particular book, which I love. I'm just going to quickly show it to you now, which encapsulates, it's called The Soul, Mind, Body, Science System. And this particular book is all about working at the soul level. And so instead of working on the physical level, and then that can be quite long and complex, when you work directly with the soul, things can happen very quickly. You can basically give your soul an order, and you can say, like, find me the right healer, find me my life purpose, and just watch how quickly things come into your life. So it's about being open then and recognizing the gifts and the opportunities and the people as they're coming in. Because I think a lot of people ask for abundance, but then they don't recognize the opportunities when they're coming in. So it's not that the abundance isn't coming, it's just the receptivity level of the person who's asking.
Yes, that is so true.
Mm.
Yeah. And I love that book. I don't have it yet, but I had it on my list.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite books. It's very repetitive, which is good because it completely drives the message in. Once you've read that book, you'll never forget what it said because it repeats itself so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very powerful knowledge.
Wonderful.
Lovely.
Yes. Well, I will watch for comments below and reply to everyone. And if you have any questions, you can message us. Carolyn is on Facebook as well under her name, Carolyn Sykes. And
obviously message Wendy as well.
Yes. So thank you again for joining us. And thank you, Carolyn, for being on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.